Hi guys, I'm Andrea and it's been a hot second since I've been on here. I've just been really busy with a lot of different things, but I really wanted to squeeze this video in because Hispanic Heritage Month is wrapping up and it is October and I love Halloween, so I just had to get this video in. For all my videos in the month of October, I will be dressing up as a book character, and today's is a little obscure because all I did was add this jacket on, but I feel like if you're a fan of this book series and the film series, you probably hopefully know where it's from. It's an exact replica because I was very obsessed with this film franchise slash book franchise. I hope that's enough hints, and I haven't changed really much anything else since the character does have brown hair and pretty white skin, so I was like, hey. Anyways, I just really wanted to wrap up my Latinxathon books I read, plus the books I read in September. First book I read for Latinxathon was Labyrinth Lost by Zoraida Cordova. I had not read this book and I'm so glad I ended up picking it up. It's about a family of brujas. It centers around Alex, who's this bisexual bruja who is kind of thrown into the middle of everything because she doesn't want to be a witch. She has these daddy issues, I guess you could say. Her father has disappeared when she was a young girl, so ever since then she's kind of been scared of magic because she's scared of the power from within her. So you kind of go on this Alice in Wonderland adventure after Alex messes up and causes a lot of things to go wrong, and there's twists and turns, and it's super cute, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to picking up the second book in the series. So hopefully it continues with that. I know it changes point of view from Alex to the sister, so.
Also, am I the only one who thinks that Maluma would make an excellent Nova in an adaptation? At casting directors, please cast Maluma as Nova. And because I see him as Nova, I kind of have a soft spot for Nova, even though he's kind of a asshole, but whatever.
The second book I read was Itza by Ríos de la Luz, and I really enjoyed this book.
Itza was pretty good. I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed like the magical realism of it, the witchiness of it. It's darker than I expected it to be. Yeah. And then those are just my first kind of thoughts on it. I don't have any deep ones right now.
I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit different from what I expected it. I don't know why I went into it thinking it was gonna be like this very linear, straightforward structure, but it's more like vignettes, but it really enhances the narrative because it reads like poetry. It's very flowy and it flows, and Itza is about water witches, and you definitely do get that sense that the book kind of like flows and ebbs like a river or like a lake or anything like that. So I really enjoyed it because of that. It deals with trauma and just reclaiming your identity. I think it has a lot of symbolism. This is such an interesting book to just pick apart and dissect. The next book I read was Pedro Páramo. Pedro Páramo is by Juan Rulfo, and this is a classic Mexican book about a ghost town. It is magical realism. It's the first time I read a book in Spanish, which is exciting for me. And just to follow along better and understand all the words the way they're supposed to be understood, I got an audiobook version of it, which I really loved, so I read along with it because it also included like The next book I read was Pedro Páramo by Juan Rulfo, and I really enjoyed this book. This book is basically about a ghost town, and it's magical realism, and it has two main characters, and there's a plot twist in the middle. I'm not going to say because I don't want to give it away, but this is my first book that I've ever read in Spanish, or chapter book, and I was really excited to read it. But I did end up getting an audiobook to read along with because I just didn't want to get mixed up on any words or slow myself down or anything like that. So I found an audiobook version. It was really great because the audiobook version actually had like water noises and like ambience noises that really enhanced, I guess, the spookiness factor. And I read this book only during the nighttime, so it really kind of like give you those spooky vibes.
Bueno, pues eso es la media luna de punta a cabo. Como quien dice, toda la tierra que se puede abarcar con la mirada.
And the last book I read for Latinxathon was Lion Island, Cuba's Warrior of Words by Margarita Engel, and this is a Cuban-American author who writes a story about Antonio Schufant. It is a children's story, and it kind of follows the story on how he became this activist for Afro-Cuban and Cuban-Chinese rights in the 1800s. He really helped minorities get a voice and be heard, and in a time period where that wasn't a thing or wasn't possible. What really surprised me about this book was that it was in verse, and I did not expect that. I did not know anything about this book going into it or about Margarita's writing, so it really surprised me to open the page and it was all in verse, the entire book, which I thought was super cool, especially as a children's book. So I really enjoyed it. I'm probably going to check out some of her other books because I thought it was really interesting style to adapt a historical fiction into. And the last book I read in September, which was not for Latinxathon, is I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer by Michelle McNamara. This book has been on my list for the longest time, and I'm so glad I decided to read it. This is basically about the Golden State Killer, and if you're not familiar with the Golden State Killer was the original Night Stalker here in California who killed a bunch of sleeping couples in their sleep. He would watch them sleep, stalk them, kill them in very brutal ways in the 70s and 80s, I believe it was. So Michelle McNamara kind of really dived deep into this narrative and kind of to figure out who he was, because he is like the Zodiac Killer. They didn't know who he was. He was recently captured a few months ago, but unfortunately Michelle wasn't here to see it because she passed away last year, I believe. I really love this book because I do like true crime, and I really loved it even more because most of the areas in this book I am like very familiar with, like extremely familiar with. Like almost every single city that was mentioned in this book, I was like, oh, I've been there, I've been there, I've been here, I've been there. So it was really easy to imagine the streets and the places because I've literally been to all these streets and places, and it kind of gives you like retroactive chills to know that you have been in those places where these horrific murders were happening. And I think this is a really great example of literary journalism, which is what I studied in school. I almost wish I would have read this book in school because it would have been so interesting to dissect. But it's such a great example of literary journalism because Michelle doesn't sacrifice style and she doesn't sacrifice her prose in order for the facts to I guess shine through. She interjects it with such beauty that it kind of just enhances the story, enhances the narrative, and it really places the reader into the perspective of not only the victims but of Michelle. I really enjoyed her writing style, but I guess my very favorite part of the book is at the end, and it's her imagining what the Golden State Killer is experiencing or would experience if he got caught. And it reads like this: no side gates are left open. You are long past leaping over a fence. Take one of your hyper-gulping breaths, clench your teeth, inch timidly towards the insistent bell. This is how it ends for you. You'll be silent forever and I'll be gone in the dark. You threatened a victim once. Open the door, show us your face, walk into the light. And that's how the book basically ends, and it was just such a powerful paragraph that it just it stays with you well past the pages. I guess my only, it's not even a criticism, but the only thing, because you can't really change it. Michelle was in the middle of writing her book when she passed away, so a lot of it is pieced from her prior articles for the LA Weekly and her notes. So there is definitely that difference. I guess you can definitely see it, but it is like her same tone. I think the people who were in charge of like piecing those things together, which were her husband and her partner in researching all this, I think they stayed really true to her voice and to her, I guess, style and her objective in the case. So I really like that. Luna, fuck. Bésame, bésame mucho, como si fuera esta noche la última vez. Bésame, bésame mucho. Yo sé que tienes un nuevo amor. De repente me despierto y te has ido. Siento el vacío de ti, me desespera, como si el amor doliera. Y aunque no quiera, sin querer lo